Hey guys, I'm back. I just want to bring another video of the Axial SCX24. Just wanted to share some free mods that you can kind of do at home that I did, just to make it a better crawler, and, just tips on how to rust it if you want to do that. Um, I guess first I wanted to talk about the shock location, even with the stock shocks. I don't like to mount them on the frame like a lot of guys did to get that canted angle. So the fronts, basically, I just, they canted once I went to the 4-link, which I'll talk about here shortly. But the rears have a secondary mount area on the shock tower that's just forward a little bit. And it's still on the shock tower, and it's above the frame. I like the shocks mounted above the frame just because it keeps the lower center of gravity. I see a lot of guys kicking it way forward to that open screw hole on the frame, and that's just too much angle, in my opinion, for stability. So that's what I did with that. That's something simple for the rear shocks only. You just have a forward mount position. For the fronts, you'll have to go to the 4-link, and that pushes the wheelbase out. Which you can tell just from the side view here. So you can see how the front end's pushed out, and of course I had to remove the front bumper. The servo just didn't clear even with the stock servo on there. So I'll talk a little bit more into that. As of the rusting, I used my solder iron. If you have a wood pen, wood burning pen or whatever, that'd work too. But I just put a little heat on there. Help melt it a little bit. In some areas I actually melted it through to make some rust holes, which you can see in the doors there. Use your imagination. I'd heat it up and then I'd push into it with some sort of object. I used, I think, an end of a lighter, basically, to make the crevices and give it that 3D look. So it turned out pretty good. You can see the front end here. Sorry, bad lighting, but it's the best I can do here. So you can kind of see the rust areas there. But it's real simple. Just take your time, patience. Use that solder pen. You can clean it off. You can clean the tips. Usually that's what I used, was a solder pen. It worked out good for me. So that's that. And then for the roof rack, you can see I cut out, just using a Dremel tool, cut out that bottom area. And then again, simple, I used heat on this top area and just slowly started at the top and worked it down with pressure once I heated up. And I used just a lighter. It's actually one of those jet torch lighters. But a heat gun, if you got one of them, that'd probably work better. But I worked it down flat pretty much, sloped it down, and then I did the same thing down low here. I heated the ends up real good, and then used a hard object to square it off and push it down, so it gave it that kind of ramp look and the fastback look now, which gives it overall lower center of gravity and took some weight off the top of it, which is kind of cool. Something you can do. Took the headlight thing, cut the lights out, and forward mounted it, so it gave it kind of a visor look, and plus it scoops up, so it helps meet up with the roof that's kind of bowed up there. So it's a good matchup. Use the lights up here, super glued them on, just to give it a cool, better look. But alright, let's see what else. 4-link. Front end. You can just get it out of your stock parts. What I did was I took the 3-link triangle piece off the top and used the short links that came on the stock and dropped them down here, basically. Or no, I'm sorry, moved them up top. And then the longer ones that came with the kit, I put on here. The longer ones are the shorter. I think that came with it. So it pushes it out, but you're going to have to replace some of the link ends with the balls from the 3-link triangle top piece. And then I had to put a little plastic spacer in that to make it all work, so you could have your ball ends. Then on the top there, to make the links a 4-link, I use basically off my stock shocks, the balls, and then popped them through there, and they fit perfectly. So, of course I had to do that after I upgraded my shocks so I could have those extra sockets to pop out of the stock shocks to use in there. They're threaded, fits in there perfect. The balls pop in the ends of the links perfect. So there's great movement there, and that spacer is fine too. So if you can use a little plastic spacer to take up some of that slack, it works perfect. So yeah, 4-link's definitely better in that, like I said, cants the shocks forward automatically in its regular stock position, up top where it mounts. It just automatically pushes out. So, and also, heat comes into play on this too. You can see I got high clearance plastic links now. Also, you can kind of, it's hard to see angles, but you can kind of see it there. But again, I used a Bic lighter for that. But you heat up where you want it and just find a hard corner and kind of bend it down. You don't want too much angle, just because you're going to start binding with your drive shafts and you'll start getting like a real, you want a smooth driving. So watch your angles. I barely did the fronts. Really, you could just leave the fronts alone. I just did the very tips of them just a little bit. I mean, again, with heat. But the rears have more angle to them. And again, remember that draws everything into your wheelbase. But, it didn't affect it too much. You can tell by looking at it. Still pushes my tires forward, which is what I wanted, past the servo arm. Excuse me. Since the bumper isn't on it. But, so that's pretty simple, easy mods there. Let's see. Why brass? If you can get it. I got all my stuff on eBay. The local hobby shops, I love them, but they're just not carrying these upgrades yet, just because they're so fairly new. So, but these millstone wheel wideners, they're wideners. You find them on eBay. Millstone brass weights for the SCX24. Simple install. I mean, you don't need directions. It's pretty simple. And then your hot racing diff covers, which add weight to it also, front and rears. But I do suggest doing the upgrade on the HR hot racing shocks too. They're awesome. I added shock grease because they are kind of bouncy when you first get them, but you can see I have a little bit of dampening there, so it's pretty slick. A little bit better here. There you go. Catches it. Sorry, it's on the little cardboard table here. Let's see, yeah, so a lot of that stuff's all pretty simple. You can do it yourself. The rusting too, just local hobby shop carries this rusting powder, and then I use, the wife's, girlfriend's, my wife's nail polish clear coat. Mixed it, dabbed it first with the rust areas, and then put the powder on top of it, and you can layer it. Take your time with it. Next day, come back, put another layer on. But just, wherever that clear coat goes, it's going to stick there. So, just take your time on that. Simple stuff you can find around the house. I'm a budget guy too, so, I like to try to save some money wherever I can and share my ideas with the rest of you guys, that are interested. And hopefully this stuff gives you guys some ideas too. Again, the front steering, you got a lot of slack in the steering arms there, or the links, steering links I should say. So I added red rubber O-rings. You can get black, whatever color you'll find them in, but small. I'm not sure exactly what size they are, but they're tiny ones. And then I put a small shim underneath it, which you can kind of see. Give it a good base. And then, I did aftermarket RC 4-wheel drive stock servo off a Galande 2, 1/18 scale. It fits, but I had to use longer screws to mount it in there. Without any mods, it slips in there with a little bit of pressure. And then you got to kind of shave the front ear mounts. See how they're on an angle? So you can, crawl basically, so you have some flexing and it doesn't hit the frame. So, but it all works. Better torque. It's like 9 grams stock, so way better than the AS1 or whatever it is that's stock on the Axial here. So, but man, fun little crawler. I get more use out of this thing lately than my 1 to 10. So, I hear they're coming out with the Chevy C10. So, that'll be a pretty cool scale crawler. But you know, my scale crawler is the 118 Grande 2. Which is the same wheelbase as a stock SCX10 or SCX24 deadbolt. So you could take a D90 body and put it right on here, hard body, and it'd fit exactly the same wheelbase, but you'd have the 3-link, you know, the stock setup. So stock wheelbase. So there you go, guys. Another video. You know, I had one of the viewers, you know, comment too. So this is kind of hopefully helps you out. I think it's N Ashby that commented. So here's a video for you. Hopefully it gives you some ideas and help you out, buddy. But yep. Oh, I just wanted to show you the battery too. You know, just to get that horizontal battery, it doesn't have to be as big as mine, but to have those mounts, you gotta have those mounts because they're part of the shock tower. So you gotta cut right at those tabs there, and just cut that plate off, and it works fine. So, but there you go, guys. Oh, also the RC 4-wheel drive motor is just drop in, no mods needed. So, and it's better torque. A lot of guys are putting the ECX barrage motor in it, but I already got this big old ESC in there, which isn't, you know, really bigger than the stock one. I would say. So, but anyways, you guys have fun out there, and I'll get some more videos up. One day I'll get some run videos up. I just don't have a GoPro or anything, and I suck at movie editing. So this is raw material, guys. Talk to you later.